Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is the image that we're going to be painting, so I would love for you to paint along with me. Very simple, really great beginner, and it's just a fun subject. So this is a little puffer fish, or you may call it a blowfish, and he's got a lot of character. And I will leave a list of all the supplies below the video, so if you want to grab your supplies beforehand, put this on a pause, grab your supplies, and I'm going to go over the supplies before we start painting as well. So let's get started. I'm going to be using Ink watercolor paper. This is cold pressed, 16 by 12 inch, 100% cotton. Now this is a very large sheet of paper. It's just what I happen to have on hand. And I'm going to split this sheet in half. So I'm just going to be working on the right side. And because this isn't not a big subject, so it'll be perfect. And then I could just cut the paper in half and use the other half for something else. So I'm going to be using my Ink watercolor paint set. This paint set has 52 pans, wonderful colors. I just love this set, and uh, it comes with a few items as well. You have a pencil. It's a B pencil. You have a number 5 round brush with a nice point and a 0.5 pigment liner that is water resistant. So this is a really nice pen. And so you've got everything you want everything you need, in this little paint set. And then you could expand out from that if you're a beginner and then add some brushes. I do have some larger brushes on the side here that I'll be using. So yeah, it's a wonderful set to purchase, and you won't be disappointed. So I've got a nice fresh container of water, a couple paper towels, and I'm going to be starting off with a number 10 round brush. Excuse me, number 10 round brush, and I'm just going to, because it's a little bit larger of a brush, so I want to cover a little bit more area. It's not very large. It's still a small brush, but larger than what came with the set. So I'm going to start with a nice little misshaped circle. Wet the paper down. Don't want it perfectly round. Putting that circle on a little bit of an angle. And while that soaks into the paper, we're going to go ahead and mix up a few different shades. This is the deep cobalt turquoise, one of my favorite colors. It's a pretty dark color, so I'm going to add a lot of water because I'm going to lighten that, make that my lightest shade. And then I'll add another little pool of paint here with it a little bit darker. And then the third one is going to be adding Payne's Gray to that deep cobalt turquoise that's in the brush. So I cleaned my brush off really well, kept it really wet because I'm going to dilute this little pool of color a little bit more. And we're going to start off right in the center and just go around in a big circle. That's going to be our lightest area. And then we'll go around with the second color and just let that all blend together. Now our light's coming from the right, so we're going to make it a little bit darker towards the bottom here on the left side. I'm going to pick up a little bit of the straight Payne's Gray because watercolor always dries a lot lighter, so I want to make sure that's dark enough. So I just added the straight Payne's Gray to the bottom there. I'm going to pick up a little bit more, or actually I'm going to blend this a little bit. Now I'll pick up a little bit of that medium shade. And I'm just going to blend it a little bit. Use the dried paper towel and just dab. I'm going to pick up the straight Payne's Gray again, drop that in, and the deep cobalt turquoise on top of that. So I just stepped aside a little bit, let that dry naturally. And now we'll come back in, pick up that brush that came with the, which is if you don't have this set, it's just I'm using a number 5 round brush. It's got a really nice point to it. So this is going to be great for adding our spikes and our little fins. So I'm going to pick up that middle shade and we're going to start putting the fins on the side. And just keep them really kind of funky, misshaped. Make them interesting. Do one on the other side. I'm going to pull a little bit of that. It's a little dark, so I'm going to pull some of that paint off before it dries. So like I said, it's always going to dry lighter, but you can always add more color. You can always take it off too sometimes with, a wet brush. You can pull some of that paint out of the paper if it's too dark, but it's always good to kind of catch it beforehand. You can always darken. There, I love those. Those are perfect. Very interesting. Not perfect. So we'll start adding a few spikes. Try not to make them like tin soldiers, just one going this way, one going that way, one coming from behind. I'm going to pull a little bit of that paint out of the center. And we're just going to continue doing this around with the different shades that we have on the palette. That's a little too dark. Go ahead and lighten that up. And you'll bring a few spikes in in a little bit closer to the center. This little guy's got so much character. And then I'll kind of brush a little bit of that around to the bottom of the spikes. I'll kind of blend those together. A little water in the brush. So they're not just like looking like they're just floating there. So years ago, I used to have I was at a hobby of doing freshwater aquariums when I was very, very little. Our family always had a little freshwater aquarium. And then as I got older, I enjoyed it so much that I went into saltwater aquariums, and very expensive. Definitely have to have a good amount of money to run a saltwater aquarium. And it wasn't big, it wasn't too big. It was a nice size aquarium, but I did have a puffer fish. And I don't recall, it was so long ago. I don't recall if I named him, if I had a name for him or not. But anyways, the only thing I do remember, he just had so much personality that when I would come home for the day after being gone, he was like a dog. He would see you walk in, and he would come to the tank, to the edge, and just look at you, and then just start swimming back and forth so excitedly, like a dog, just going back and forth, up and down, wagging his little fins and tail, and he was just the best fish ever. And I had him for a pretty good amount of time, and I'm not sure how long they actually do live, but of course, saltwater aquariums, you got to keep them perfect, and um, I don't think they last as long. And so when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, I think about like how unfortunate it is for those fish. When I was younger and I didn't think about it. But I was glad that I had him because he was just the best fish I ever had. So this is a tribute to my little puffer fish. So here I'm going down at the bottom with the darker shade on the palette for the darker spikes that are in the shadow side of the fish. And again, I'll just kind of blend that all kind of towards the center. Wet that brush again and bring some of that, blend those together. I do like this watercolor paper. I think it's really nice. I think anything 100% cotton. When I first started doing ink and watercolor, I was just using regular paper that wasn't 100% cotton. And then as I've gotten into using better paper, it's really hard to go back. I do have some papers that I'll use that aren't 100% cotton just to practice a subject on. And that's a great way to use that inexpensive paper to go ahead and do some practice, do some practice work. But when you want to do a really nice painting and get some really nice blending, and it's just, you can't beat 100% cotton. It has to be. It's time to add the eyes. So they're pretty far apart. I'm going to put one about here. And they're nice and big. Now, if you don't feel comfortable just going in with the paint right away, feel free to grab a pencil and just place your eyes in with the pencil. And then you can always adjust them if you think they're too close or too far, and then you can always just erase the pencil lightly and leave a little bit there and go over it with the paint then. So yeah, he's kind of looking outward. So this one is going to be a little bit more straight on. And that other one is curving around. What I was trying to say is the right eye is kind of curving around the side of the head, and this one's a little bit more straight on. I'm going to let that dry, and before we put in the dark center of the eyes, I'm going to add a little mouth right here. And the bottom lip. I'm going to just blend that a little bit with a wet brush and bring that down and bring this one up a little. Payne's Gray. Just put a little opening just on the one side. We'll kind of blend that in the center. And keep that center kind of a little bit on the lighter shade so it looks like you could see into the center of the mouth. And I just do a little curving down. So his mouth, the corners are going down just a little bit. I'm going to bring that top lip over a little bit more. And now we can go in and mix up a nice dark shade of the Payne's Gray and put in the center of the eyeball. And just fill it all in because we're going to go in with the Uniposco white paint marker and put in the highlights with that. And a little bit darker in the corner of the mouth. I said fill it all in. I left a little spot there, but it's okay. You can go ahead and fill it in, the eyes that is, and I just happened to leave a spot. Trying to get that nice and round. coming along cute. Hope you're doing well. Hope yours is coming along. So let that dry. And I'm going to go ahead and put in some of those splatters now. Picked up the number 10 brush again. Just fill up your brush with a lot of water. Pick up whatever's on the palette, or mix some more if you don't have enough on the palette. I'm going to flick some paint. And anything you don't like, just blot off. If there's too many spots or one hit in an area where you don't want it. Now that's sat and dried. And we're going to go ahead and do some ink marking and use the Uniposca for some highlights. You gotta shake that up really good. There's a little ball in there. Just make sure you shake it really good. Sometimes you gotta tap it a little bit on another sheet of paper to get it going. I'll leave the supply list below in case you're interested in knowing which marker this is. So go ahead and put in some white spikes. It's just fun. Gives it just some extra detail. You see the white obviously better in the dark paint. Do a little detail on the fin. And then we'll go ahead and put in some little highlights around the eyeball. This is the funnest thing about doing eyes, is doing the highlights like that. It just makes the eye come to life. I started out doing oil paint pet portraits, and oh my God, that was so, I mean, I still do them if somebody asks, but that was the best part, was doing either the cat or the dog's eyes. Cat's eyes are beautiful and dog's eyes are so soulful. Adding a little highlight inside the mouth and on the lips. And now we'll go in with that 05. Add a little detail around the eyes. And a little shadow above the lip and on the lower lip. And I add a little detail to the bottom of the fins. And then we'll go ahead and add some spikes. Just random here and there. I'm not outlining the ones that are already there, just kind of putting them here and there just to add a little more detail. Some big ones, little ones. As I get closer to the center, I do smaller ones, and then I did some bigger ones on the outside. And that's it. Turned out really cute. I just love this little guy. So all you have to do is just put your little John Hancock on the bottom. And I'll need to cut this paper in half, this 16 by 12 inch sheet, and I'll use the other side for something else. But this will fit nicely into an 8 by 10 inch mat, and then place it into an 11 by 14 inch frame. And it'll look great in a bathroom, a child's room, just a nice little fun conversation piece. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank you so much for your time. If you're a subscriber, again, thank you. I appreciate you so much. If you're not, think about subscribing. It would really help my channel grow, and I could use the help. So here's my finished little puffer fish. And yeah, he's adorable. So I can't wait to hang him up. So thank you again. I'll leave all the list of the supplies, a list of the supplies below in the description below the video. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you for painting with me today. Bye for now.